Good day, everyone, and welcome to the maiden edition of After 5 at 5. So After 5 at 5 is a live conversation following a recorded conversation, Make or Ma Moment, a program where leaders share lessons from decisions that could have marred them but made them. My guest today is Mr. Mutiu Sunmonu. Mr. Sunmonu is a man of several parts. He currently sits on several boards and chairs a number of them. I'd like to welcome Mr. Sunmonu especially to this maiden edition. Mr. Sunmonu, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to this live chat. I hope it will be very interactive. And I do believe that whilst my audience will be able to take some things away, I'm also hoping to get some learning from this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And that's quite good that you're also coming to this conversation with a learner mindset. So I'd like to encourage even the viewers to to come to learn, to come and get some mentoring even from this conversation. Before I go on, we have some ground rules. Thank you very much, and welcome back, viewers. If you're just joining, this is After 5 with 5, and I have with me today Mr. Mutiu Sunmonu. So I'll just go over the ground rules just again very quickly. The focus of the conversation is on leadership, entrepreneurship, personal development. So if you have questions in any of those areas, please bring them on. Make your questions short, make them concise, make them precise, and of course there'll be chats even going on as we continue this conversation. Please keep it respectful, and I'd like to request also that if you have if you put in a question, you can put in your location as well, so we know where you're asking the question from, your city specifically. We're streaming live on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So I'll just dive straight into it. Mr. Sunmonu, I hope you're ready. Okay, so I'll start with a question that we received even before today. It's from a Nigerian in diaspora. His name is John, and he says that I'm a Nigerian in diaspora. I believed in Nigeria, and I still do. So I believed and I still do. He says that my friends and I returned to Nigeria to invest in the economy. We believe in this economy, and we brought all our investments into Nigeria. We've lost all the money we brought in due to the extreme hostile environment. We've now left the country. I have left the country, and I have almost nothing. I'm starting all over again. So the question to you, Mr. Sunmonu, two questions, and I'll ask you the first one first. The first one, it says, how do businesses in Nigeria really survive?
Well, it's I think the experience of the gentleman who asked this question is unfortunate. But if I'm going to be truthful, I said that kind of difficulty is not limited to Nigerians in diaspora. Even people who live in Nigeria also experience challenges when starting up a business. So it's a pity you have had to go back, but I hope that this does not mean that you will not try again. Let me tell you something I want you to take away. You never win a battle by fighting only once. You must remember that. So, especially for our brothers and sisters and friends in diaspora, uh, do not take Nigeria for granted just because you are a Nigerian. The culture, the regulatory environment, the legal environment had changed significantly, probably since you left. So there's something in mathematics that we call necessary and sufficient condition. It is necessary for you to have the fund to invest, but that is not a necessary and sufficient condition for success. So you really have to ask yourself, what are the other conditions that will really be sufficient for me to successfully invest in Nigeria? You therefore need to be clear about the business you want to go into, find out a lot more about the regulation around that particular business. What is the legal framework supporting that business? And I think to keep it short, you need to understand the ecosystem around that business. It's not just sufficient for you to look at your own little part. What are the other parts of the economy that this your own business will need to interact with? What are the feeder systems? And what are the things that you will also need to feed into? Where are you going to? So there's a lot more that you need to think about. And I'm sure those who are entrepreneurs, they know that what I'm saying is not new. But what is also important is what I will call due diligence. You have to do that. You must even invest in it. A lot of us, don't invest enough in due diligence. But I can tell you that is a great mistake, and it can actually make or mar you. So you really have to invest in doing your due diligence checks. You need to make sure you pick credible people to help you research about what are the issues around that kind of business in the country. And if you have that and you also make sure that you yourself, you have what it takes to be successful, I will really advise you to think about it again. People are still doing successful business in Nigeria, but it doesn't just come on a platter of gold, unfortunately. I think that will be my quick summary for you. Do your due diligence checks. Make sure you have qualified people to help you do those checks. Make sure that your feasibility study is thorough. I will tell you, even at my level, I've lived in Nigeria all my life. I've run a big company in my entire youthful career. But before I invest in anything in this country, I have my investment advisor who will go out, do all the checks, check the regulatory thing, check the ecosystem, even visit the company without them knowing he was visiting, just to find out more about the companies that are asking me to invest. Because something may look good on paper, it may look good on the surface, but until you do your DD, you really never know how difficult, how challenging, and what are the things you need to look after for.
Thank you very much for that. I'll come back to the second question, but I want to skip the second question and go to another question that has been sent because of some of the things you said. You talked about the framework, talk about the regulation, talk about due diligence. The question, another question that came, talks about the insecurity in the nation and the high corruption in the system. So the question, and I'm going to read it as it is, says that with the state of insecurity in Nigeria and high corruption in the system, which has slid into 2015 levels, how do businesses really conduct their affairs ethically? So my question to you is, okay, those frameworks you mentioned, those regulations, those due diligence, do those mitigate corruption? Do those mitigate insecurities sufficiently?
Well, I think there is a point where an entrepreneur will have to decide whether at the stage of evolution in the country, whether you have the courage and conviction to invest. The reason I'm saying this is that whatever problems Nigeria is facing today, I personally do not believe that these problems will be with us forever. But it will take time to solve them. So I don't believe that corruption will be with us forever. I don't believe that the question of insecurity will be with us forever. I don't want to delve into the politics of all of these things in this call. But just as a simple citizen and as a strong believer, it is my conviction that all the challenges that we are facing today in terms of corruption, in terms of poor regulatory environment, will change because I'm beginning to see the signs and symptoms that Nigerians are challenging the status quo. 10 years ago, we were not doing this. 10 years ago, we were not doing this. Everybody was just going about this or our own business. But now, there is sufficient awareness that we cannot prosper if all of these challenges continue to dominate our country. So I don't want us to see this as a permanent feature. I want to see this as an evolution. But meanwhile, you also need to ask yourself, are there, I'm sorry, meanwhile, you also have to tell yourself that there are businesses in Nigeria that are surviving in spite of this situation. And the question you need to ask yourself, how are they doing it? And you don't have to succumb. You don't have to succumb to corruption for you to be successful. So therefore, you need to be very clear what your own value system is. And therefore, calibrate the system and say, this is what I want to do. Is the corruption challenge a lot stronger here or not? And then you start from a place that is easier to handle. And I'm hopeful that with the level of awareness that Nigerians are having, with the level of awareness that the general populace is having, I do believe that the issue of corruption will be a thing of the past with time, because everybody has to fight it. So when you set up your own business and you see people asking you for bribe, you see people asking you for money, do not give. It's just a question of time that everyone will understand that this is what you are known for. This is your own value system. I ran Shell for 7 years. I never gave bribe to anybody for whatever Shell achieved in Nigeria. I want to tell you that. So it is doable, but you must have the courage and the conviction not to do it. And the more people that can stand up against it, the more our chance of success as a country will be.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Good, good, good. So I can see the chats coming in. Engineer Favor, Omo Jesu, YK, Oladiran, Alphonsus Usofia. He says, hi, Mr. Sunmonu. Probably knows you. I don't know. He says hello to you. Kata HSC, Yinka as well. Bolu Opaniron, also you're all welcome. I forgot to mention at the start of the program, we're going to have a break in about 15 minutes time, just a short break, a commercial break, a bio break, and we'll come back and continue the conversation. So I go next, to the question I have here, straight into that. It says in the company I work for, I won't name names. We're all bright. Everyone is either a first class or a 2-1 graduate. How much does luck have to do with one to rise through the hierarchy? Secondly, so there are two questions as well. Secondly, we hear of sponsorship and all. Is that not godfatherism?
Well, I think my first response to that is that I don't want to call it luck, but I want to let you know that you have to be in the right place at the right time. If that is what you call luck, so be it. The whole issue of sponsorship is a very sensitive one because it lends itself to different interpretation. You are likely to have someone who believes in you in your organization. And if that somebody believes in you, is that what you call sponsorship? Maybe it is. But he believes in you, is pushing your case just because he believes in you. It's not sponsoring you just for the heck of sponsoring you. So a lot of people always misinterpret that to me, oh, he has a godfather. I really don't believe that godfather is the real issue. The real issue is that every leader looking at a number of people, you will start to develop your confidence in the various people that are working for you. You start to see different talents in them. You start to see people who you believe can take your organization to the next level. And once you see that, it is actually your duty and your responsibility to help them achieve that potential. I mean, that is what most organizations call potential, talent. Once you spot a talent, you just cannot fold your arms. Because if you fold your arm, that talent will wither. So you need to help that talent to flourish. And when you do that, some people will see it as if, oh, you are his godfather. Oh, you are favoring him. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that the whole workplace is entirely fault-free. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that what people see and call godfatherism is really pure and simple the responsibilities and duties of leaders to develop the next generation of leaders. But a lot of people don't understand that. They feel, oh, he's just his godfather. Absolutely not. It's part of the role of leaders to develop other leaders. People will have different preferences. So it's also entirely up to people who are enjoying the confidence and support of their leaders not to let them down. Because this whole thing is about making sure that if people have confidence in you, you do your job in a way that continues to reinforce that confidence. You also have a responsibility in that regard to reciprocate the confidence that your leaders have in you. It's not something that will be there forever. If I look at a typical career in a big organization, if I say, for instance, in my own career in Shell, I spent like 36 years and I went through not less than 25 different leaders. And each one of them has to express their opinion on you. Each one of them has to participate in ranking of you, in your performance, in your potential. So even if one wants to show you godfatherism, you have another 20 or 22 to contend with. So I really believe that followers have to understand this and focus on what they need to do to make sure that they continue to demonstrate capacities in whatever job they are doing, rather than start to externalize their problem to say it's because that person has a godfather and I don't have.
Thank you so much. Very interesting perspective there. I'll move very quickly because I want to cover, as many questions as possible. I move to the next question. It says that I currently report to a monster, to say the least. She bullies me and intimidates me. I leave the office very sad every day. Have you been in such a situation where your manager hated your guts? If yes, how did you handle it? If no, what advice do you have for someone in that situation?
Well, I think the workplace is popularized by human beings and not angels. So you will come across good people, you will come across nasty people, and you as an individual have a role to play to decide how you deal with the different personalities that you are working with. You must manage them differently. There are people whose temperament is just nasty. And you have to learn how to deal with that. I think the first and foremost is that you must tell yourself, um, my desire in this workplace, my desire is to make sure my contribution is well known. If you have that as a clear objective, then you have a duty yourself to make sure that there are other leaders in your organization who can testify to your contributions and to the quality of the work you do. But more than anything else, you also have a responsibility to yourself to challenge your leaders if you believe that they are not being fair to you. I have had a situation in my career where I've had to talk to my leader to say, I think I really need to have a conversation with you because I'm getting worried that I don't even have a career in this place. I sent him an email. And the following, in fact, that email didn't spend more than 1 minute in his inbox. He replied me immediately, can we meet when I come back from my trip? And we had that conversation. I made it clear to him how I felt it has been a bit unfair to me in some of his utterances and behavior. And I tell you, from that day, things changed. So you cannot leave everything to people to intervene for you. You have to really be clear whether this man is being unfair or whether there are behaviors that you are also exhibiting, or whether there is a work quality that is an issue. So you really have to ask yourself those deep questions. Reflect carefully, because it's always very easy, as I said earlier, for us to externalize our problem. Oh, he doesn't like me because he's not from my tribe. He doesn't like me because I dress better than him. You must really be objective with yourself. And then try to look for a very good way, a very respectful way to lay your concern before your leader. I believe that is key. The other thing which I said earlier is I had a situation like that also at a stage in my career when I felt the person who is my leader is not taking sufficient time to go through my work, my submission before responding. But I was lucky to be in a position whereby, there are other people who, even though they are not my direct leaders, they also need to see my work. But I was always thinking that, I need to share with my leader first before I shared it with them. But when I felt that he wasn't giving my job due recognition, I then decided that whenever I'm sharing my work, I shared it with all of them at the same time. And I tell you something, at a stage, he started to see that other people, the two other people I'm sharing my work with, are always coming with positive comment. He himself now said, maybe I think we should be waiting for the other comments before I make my own comment. So it's really important for you to look for different ways of managing adversities at work. There will be different situations that you have to really be calm and be clear in your objective. Your objective is not to fight your leader. Your objective is to push your cause. Your objective is to make sure that your performance is visible, it is recognized and treated fairly. Once those are your clear objectives, you can develop your own different strategies around it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing your views. I'm seeing the comments here. Someone's asking, how do you ask questions? The same way you're typing the question here, just put the question in the chat box. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to ask Mr. Sunmonu. I can see Babatunde Olusegun saying, really, I'm learning something here. Olorun Shola Emmanuel Oluwaseun says, I'm so happy for this online interview. Okay, so we're going to go on a break now. If you're just joining, by the way, this is After 5 at 5. It's a live conversation with leaders on leadership, entrepreneurship, and personal development. You can ask questions along these themes. I can see Ayomone here saying he's having a good time as well. You're welcome. We're going to go on a short break now. After the break, I can see questions on cryptocurrency. Mr. Sunmonu, I hope you can answer questions on cryptocurrency. I can see a question here about a lady being pressured to sleep with someone to get a job. If you can give advice on that as well. I can see a question about a family about disintegrating because the man lives in Port Harcourt and the family lives in Canada. We're going to have all these questions for you right after the break. Please don't go away. Hello there. Welcome back. If you just join in, this is After 5 at 5, and it's a conversation about leadership. It's a conversation about entrepreneurship. It's a conversation about personal development, and you're welcome. Just before I go into my next set of questions, the next episode of this After 5 at 5 is going to happen on Sunday, 7th of March. 2021. My guest then is Willie Bolter. Willie Bolter is the chief commercial officer of Indigo Airlines. That's the largest carrier in India and one of the most profitable airlines globally. So you're welcome back. I'm going to just go before I go into the questions I listed. There was a question by Oluwaseun. He says, as a budding entrepreneur, is there or are there mindsets that I need to possess to become significant in my field?
Okay. Well, I think the whole issue of mindset is very important for success. I can tell you that a lot of people, even though they claim they are entrepreneurs, but they suffer from what I call destination addiction, where you think, oh, happiness is in the next business. Happiness is in the next relationship. Happiness is in the next job. If you have that kind of uh, destination addiction, you cannot be a successful entrepreneur. As a successful entrepreneur, you must be focused and you must be systematic. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who are bustling with ideas, but ideas alone do not deliver the final product. You need the ideas, but you need focus. So you must tell yourself that you need a mindset of focus. The second important thing, which a lot of entrepreneurs don't have, is the what I would call the habit of experimentation. They think, oh, I've had this idea, and therefore, once I start it, it must blossom. You must cultivate the habit of experimentation. You never test the depth of water with your two legs. So you have to have that mindset that you need to do it step by step. At every step, you learn, you improve, and then you go to the next stage. Don't be too much in a hurry. Being an entrepreneur does not mean that you want to conquer the whole world in one day. So I think my advice is that you need that mindset to experiment. You need that mindset to also be focused. Those for me are two very, very important points for entrepreneurs to have in their mindset.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for that. Quite insightful comment indeed. There's a question here by Yinka. Yinka is asking, how do you translate job roles within the same organization? But I wanted to keep that thought, sir. I want to go to the next question. I'll come back to translating roles in the same organization. A question says, sir, I finished from the university 5 years ago, but there's no job. I have been trying to start business with a little money from my parents, but it's just so hard. Every man wants to sleep with me, and they are even willing to give me more than double my capital for the business. It is hard, sir, hard in capital letter. Can you please give me some direction? I am under so much pressure. I'm about to give in.
Akin, that looks like so many questions in one. Can you break it down?
Okay, so so the person has finished university. So the person is trying to get a job and try to start a business. But the people that want to help her, a lady, they want to sleep with her. So she's under so much pressure. She just wants some advice.
Is it to get a job or to get a business?
Well, I think she's probably just at she doesn't know what to do. She needs money. She's been offered money, but they want to get intimate with her. She's under a lot of pressure. She needs to survive, and she just.
I think that's clear. I got
Okay.
the question now. I really think that, look, this is where character comes in. But I can tell you that if you do something which is against good ethics, which is against moral, you are likely to regret it in future. So my advice is that be very clear what you want. And a lot of these people who are dangling uh, money before you is probably just for the moment. Let's be clear. And if you are looking for career, if you are looking for business, you are looking for something that will last a lifetime. So my advice to you is do not do not be tempted with short-term gains. Things might look difficult because you are young, you are trying to do too many things at a time, and then there will be opportunities coming at you. But a lot of these opportunities are of short-term nature. So please, my advice to you, the same advice I will give to my own children, is that they must focus on the long term. Do not let short-term gains rob you of long-term benefit. It might be tough, it might be difficult, but please don't succumb to it. But having said that, where you come in is you must also help yourself. Be clear about your goal. What do you want? And in following it up, ask yourself, are you being realistic? Do you have the competencies? Do you have the capacity to do these things? If you don't, then you will probably be blaming other people for your own misfortune. You'll probably you'll be suffering a lot of setback just because of that. And that may just push you into doing what will not sustain you in the long run. So my honest advice is that everybody needs somebody to grow. So there's nothing wrong if you need help from people. But let it be clear that this help must be based on ethical ground. There are enough people in this country who will be willing to help you if they are convinced that what you want to do is genuine, is forthright, rather than cut corners by yourself. So just be sure that what you want to do. I've seen a lot of young people come to me for advice, for help, but when I ask them question, how do you want to use this help you are asking for? It will become clear to me whether they have thought it through or not. If you haven't thought it through, I can guarantee you I'm not going to give you a dime. But if you convince me that you have thought through what you want to do, I ask you a lot of questions. Have you thought about the risk? Have you thought about all the other issues that you may encounter? Have you thought about the obstacles? If your answer is crisp and clear, you will get help. But a lot of people are just looking for help on a platter of gold. They just want somebody, they will cry, they want to blackmail you, they will cry before you to give you money. I really think you are even not showing personal integrity. So please do not lose your morals just because you think you are in a cul-de-sac at any point in time. Everybody, no matter how highly placed you are, we have all found ourselves in difficult situations. But what will make you happy in the long run is how you overcome those challenges. Did you overcome those challenges by losing your morals? Did you overcome those challenges by using your own personal integrity? So I really want to encourage you, don't rush. Don't rush. We all have at least another 30, 40 years. In my own case, I know I still have another 30 or 40 years to live. And if you are younger than me, it means you have another 60 or 70 years to live. So why are you in a hurry for short-term gains? Please think hard and then decide carefully who you approach for help. And if people are offering you something which is completely unethical, walk away from it. You may even be surprised. Some of those people will respect you more, and they'll be looking for how to rebuild their own image before you. So please don't lose your morals for these things.
Thank you so very much for that, for reinforcing that. I'm sure she knows she probably just needs someone to encourage her. And thank you for being an encouragement. I can see all the comments, so many questions coming in. Toluwani from Calgary, I can see your question. Helen Igedo, thank you for your question. Mercy Oluseye, we'll try and take, we have just like 15 minutes more. All the questions that can be answered here, Mr. Sunmonu will answer them privately, and I'll post on my handle so that you get questions. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for those questions. I want to ask, there's a question about cryptocurrency here. Do we go for it, sir?
Sorry?
There's a question about cryptocurrency here. Do we go for it, sir?
Yeah. I will go for it, but do not expect the answer you will get from an economist.
Okay.
I was tempted to get into cryptocurrency, and as I mentioned earlier, I have an investment advisor that I talk to before I do anything. And then I asked him, Steve, I really think this cryptocurrency is really appreciating. What should I do? He went away and came back to me in 2 days. So said, excuse me, sir, this thing lacks fundamentals. So there's really nothing for me here that will encourage a professional advice. But if I want to advise you as a speculator, if you have money that you believe you want to keep away, which will not hurt you, which will not affect your other investments, you can do it. It seems to be going up, and sometimes it goes down, but that really is the way of speculation. But on a more professional basis, I believe there is something there that people need to look at, because I see a lot of countries in the world are supporting it. A lot of economies are paying a lot of attention to it. And I believe that they have a lot of bright people who are studying it for them. My own view is that even if cryptocurrency falls somewhere and it doesn't go further, I believe the technology underpinning cryptocurrency, which is the blockchain technology, will survive and will have a tremendous impact on global economy. So whilst I'm not showing sufficient interest in cryptocurrency at the moment, I'm carefully following on blockchain technology, because I think that has tremendous ability to disrupt the way transactions are handled. It has tremendous ability to impact on how information is exchanged. It has a lot of potential. So I will rather say, for me, I will keep my eye on blockchain technology. On cryptocurrency, if I have some loose money, which I know I wouldn't need for a holiday or something, I can put it in there. And if it does well, good luck. And if it doesn't, I take it as my own learning. Yeah.
Okay, so clearly you're cautious. You're cautious about cryptocurrency. So the other question here talks about advice. So you probably will not support him putting money or a lot of energy into that. So I'll just move on to the next question by Mercy. So Mercy says that how can you become a global professional, especially with the latest happenings in the global space. And I think she's referring to the fact that, we're becoming a global community, we're becoming more connected, you can work virtually. I believe that's what she's talking about. So I take the question again. She says that, how can you become a global professional, especially with the latest happenings in the global space? Also, do you think that a foreign certification will help be a global professional?
Well, I think my view is that in the world that we are today, becoming a global professional is what I will call a TINA. There is no alternative. I think that must be the ambition of every professional, especially bearing in mind that you don't have to leave your location to becoming a global professional. So, but I think the other part of the question is whether a foreign certification is a prerequisite. First of all, you really have to decide in which profession do you want to play. Once you agree the profession you want to play, the whole issue of certification is important. But what is, in my view, more important is your own professional development in that particular area. What are the key competencies that you need to develop? You need to really spend time to analyze the key competencies that you need to develop and then look for where can you get these competencies from. But having gotten the competencies by way of training, by way of certification, you need to practice. If you don't practice, people don't know what you have got, because the professional development, the certification is just an enabler. What really makes you a global professional is how you practice that thing. How do you make people to appreciate what you have? How do you make your contribution in that area that you really want to go into? And it's important that you need courage and conviction, because in this global world, the competition is so stiff. Nobody is going to give it to you on a platter of gold. So don't allow your colleagues to muzzle you out. You must stand up to be counted. You must really make your voice known after you have equipped yourself with the right level of development, with the right level of certification. Then the next thing is for you to start to seek for areas where you can participate, where you can make contributions. And one certificate make you a global professional. You need to practice it. People to be able to start to see you as a go-to person in that particular field. So if you have that as your clear objective, that in this area I want to be a go-to person, it starts to shape your behavior. It starts to shape how you respond to queries. It starts to shape how you respond to advice. And use existing platforms that we have now in terms of networking to make sure that you are putting yourself out there. Do not be shy. You cannot participate in this global village if you are very shy. You have to be willing and you have to be courageous. Do not worry whether you are making mistakes, whether people will feel you have made a blunder. You will never learn if you don't make mistakes. So don't keep it to yourself. So those for me are, I think it is important. It is a very laudable ambition to have. And I will encourage anyone who has that desire to just put in what it takes. Try, equip yourself with the right competencies, put yourself out there, make your voice heard, and practice. Look for opportunities to practice.
Indeed, thank you so very much. Time is really, really running very fast. We need to hold time. If you're just joining, this is after 5 at 5, and we're speaking to Mr. Mutiu Sunmonu. Um, uh, we have like 3 questions. So I think we should be running off in about 10 minutes. I want to ask these 3 questions. The first one is referring to your comment just now about being competitive, in the global space, as it were. So Toluwani from Calgary says that you talked about mentorship as well, when you were referring to I think the question about godfatherism. You talk about mentorship, about talent, about grooming. The question is, what should you do when it seems that there's no room for growth in your current organization?
Well, you have to ask yourself the right question. Um, you may think there is no room for growth, but it may also be an error of judgment. There is no room for growth. Is it a structural issue? If your organization structure is such that there is really no room uh, in your organization, then you have to do something about it. You just cannot stay in there and continue to hope that something will give. And I mean, having said that, you cannot continue to hope. I also want to make it very clear to you that hope is not a strategy. So just ask the right question. I was looking for a job sometime very early in my career, and I was going to be given a job in mobile, which was going to double my salary in share. And I asked them the question, this position you want to give me, and I'm telling you, this was around 1982. So just 4 or 5 years in Shell. So I said, so this position you want to give me, what are the opportunities for progression? The guy was very clear with me that we are bringing you in as head of this department, and that's it. But that for me was not an option at all. Even though they were going to double my salary, but I value the opportunity to progress. I love the challenges attached to progression. I don't want to be stagnant. So you need to ask the question, if the real issue is structural, then you have to move. You cannot continue to stay there and hope that maybe in future something will happen. If you go to your bosses, they can even tell you, yeah, maybe in future. So I will not advise you to just stick in there. You have to look for ways to progress. But the other thing you need to be realistic about, if the stagnation has to do with your own competency level, then you better start to learn, you better start to ask the right question from your bosses, whether there are additional competencies that you will need to take on board. The last point I want to give to you is that where you think there's no more room, it may be because you need to move out or you need to move sideways to learn new skills. And from those new skills that you are learning, then there could be opportunity for you to move up. But in most cases, people never like to move sideways or even like to move a bit downward. So don't put yourself in a bind. Find out if it is structural and there's nothing you can do about it, exit. Look for an exit opportunity. But in looking for an exit, don't move from fry pan to fire. If it is a competency issue, find out from people that know what are the competencies you need to acquire. And maybe what you need to do is to step aside to go and learn something new, even in the same organization. And then from the new things you learn in that organization, you may then be in a position to move forward. So you have to weigh it very carefully.
Thank you so much for that. Good advice, sir. Thank you so much. I have two questions. I'm mindful of time. This is a rather emotional one. It says that while trying to give my family a better life, I shipped my wife and children to Canada. I'm in an operational role, so I shuttle between Port Harcourt and Toronto every 3 months. The truth is that this is tearing my family apart, a very serious issue. We have 3 more years to getting the passport for my children. I have 2 years to early retirement. I'm so confused. I don't mind staying in Nigeria, but it is just insecure for my family. Can you please share your thoughts on this?
Well, this is a real family affair. So I think it is important for the families to really weigh their options. But just listening to that question, it will seem that the family has put in a lot already. I mean, the wife and the husband have been separated. The husband has been going forward and backward. I really don't think you want to throw all of that away when you have just about 2 years to retire, and then because you can really do not lose what you have labored for. That's really my own point. But you need to have a consensus around it between the husband and the wife. But my advice to you is you've labored, you have suffered. So another 2 years, in my opinion, is not going to kill you. And 2 years, when you still have so many years ahead of you, I don't think it will be too much of a sacrifice, at least from the little information you have given. That would be my advice. Uh, don't don't quit too quickly when you are almost there.
Great advice. Don't quit too quickly when you're almost there. Chinasa says, I've learned so much from you, Mr. Sunmonu. Thank you so much. Yinka says that all my questions are answered. Thank you so much, sir. The last question, before I just give you the floor to wrap up, is a question that came in even before we started this conversation. It says very simple one statement. It says, "How can I have a career as great as yours?"
Well, thank you for that. It means you believe I've had a great career, and I think I did. But one thing that I really want to, my advice to everyone that wants to make a career is that it is not enough for you to just do your task, complete your task. You must have it as a matter of duty to see how you can improve on what you are asked to do. I learned this very early in my career. I went for a course, maybe within the first 2 years of my joining Shell. The course was called Work Methods. But one of the things they taught us on that course is that every task you are doing, your routine task, take a pause to say, how can I do this task better? Just take a pause. And I came back from that course. I used to be in charge of a system called royalty calculation. It's a computerized system. And I look at how we normally run that system, all the inputs and outputs, and also the manual interactions. And then I told myself I can remove some of this manual interaction. But I didn't just go ahead to do it. I think that is one important thing. I then wrote a report, a one-page report. I sent it to my boss to say, I really want to improve on the way royalty calculation system operates. I got a very, very encouraging response back from my boss. And I tell you, that was the beginning of success for me in Shell. Because not only my boss saw that report, his own boss and the manager saw that report. And thinking back now, I felt, and that report was just a one-pager. I felt it was that time that everybody started to say, oh, this guy can think. Oh, this guy is thinking about how to improve things. So it is really important for you not just to focus on your task and do it. If you say deliver it on Monday, you deliver it on Monday. You must be asking yourself, how can I improve things around me? And that has been my mantra. Whatever job I'm doing, after doing it for a while, I just want to say, how can I change things here? How can I do it differently? How can I make this job better? Etc., etc. So if you start to think about what do you need to do to improve your task and target, to improve your deliverables, to improve on the people that you are leading, then you are on the right path to a successful career. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sunmonu. Thank you, sir, for your time. In fact, greatly appreciated. Thank you for agreeing to be part of this conversation. This after 5 at 5 has been a great conversation. I've learned a lot from the questions, even from the viewers, and from the comments that I'm seeing, some of which I've read. The viewers also benefited. So to wrap up this conversation, I'd like to just give you the floor. Do you have any last comments or any thoughts or anything on your heart, on your mind that you want to share with us, even as we wrap up?
Well, I think when people ask these questions about professional development, career, is something that is really very close to my heart. But the only thing I want to leave people with is that don't make these things too selfish. We are talking about career, you are talking about professional development. Always think about the people that you are leading, because they will see examples in you. They will see how they also will lead others. So it is important that even in your entrepreneurial world, think about the people who work for you. Think about how your actions or inactions might be impacting on them. So that way you are also enriching your own business, and you are also making sure that people coming behind you are learning. So it's a very important point for me that everybody that is thinking about their individual development must also be thinking about how can I impact the life of people that I am leading. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. It's been a great conversation. So thank you, viewers. I would like to thank the viewers for an engaging session, for the comments, for the questions. The next episode of After 5 at 5 comes up on Sunday, 7th of March. My guest, like I said, is Mr. Willie Bolter. Willie Bolter is the Chief Commercial Officer of Indigo Airlines, and we have other guests lined up for you as well. We have Jay Jenkins is the regional head of customer engineering for Google Cloud in in Asia Pacific region. We have Alex Tarasov is the chief financial officer of Gloria Jeans retail network in Russia and Kazakhstan. We have Jabali Wells, managing director, CEO of Amicus Capital. We have Mike Ikoki, managing director, CEO of African Context Advisory Partners. We have Babs Omotowa, chairman of Monserrado Oil and Gas BV. We have Atedo Peterside, the founder of IBTC and chairman of ANAP Foundation. They're all lined up even to be guests even in this conversation of After Five with Five. Thank you very much. It's been a great time with you. Have a good evening and have a great week. Thank you.